Hi everybody. If you haven't seen my last couple of videos, I am training for a half marathon that's happening in November. And to kind of recap what those last couple of videos talk about, I found two different training programs online to follow. One is 10 weeks and the other one is 14 weeks. So, that first phase, that 10-week phase, is a plan that will take you from running from 0 miles up to 5 miles, which is what I just completed. I am on my 11th week now, which means that I am just starting that 14-week training program, which is specific to training for a half marathon. So that'll take me from my 5 miles all the way up to 13.1. Like I said, I just finished phase one, so I figured that it would be a good time to stop and reflect and make an update video to talk about like what I've learned so far, what's been surprising, things like that. So I'll start with talking about how I feel after going through phase one, what was harder than I thought, what was easier than I thought, and things that I learned along the way. And then after that, I'll talk about how I feel going into phase two, what I want to change, what I want to keep the same, and things that I'm nervous and excited about. So, some things that ended up being harder for me than I expected going into this. The first one would be nutrition. I have always found it pretty hard to keep up with nutrition. I'm not the best cook, and I just don't really like spending a whole lot of time preparing meals for myself. And so I just kind of go through these like phases, and they might only be like a week or two long of being really on top of like making myself healthy meals, like buying tons of fruits and vegetables from the store and not just like heating up, some sort of like freezer meal or something. So, yeah, throughout this, I have had weeks where I've been really good at keeping up with nutrition, and then I'll have weeks where I go days with just living off of like pasta and frozen pizza and stuff. So, that could be better, and I am planning on trying to work on it more in this second phase. The other thing with nutrition is that I also struggle to like remind myself to eat. Sometimes like the day just gets busy and I just kind of like forget to eat. So I've been better with eating breakfast because I've been running in the morning, but sometimes if I wake up too late to do my morning run, then I don't have time to eat breakfast once I like shower and have to head out the door for work. And then once I get home from work, it's already like 4:30, 5 o'clock. So I just feel like I'm not feeling my body enough, and I can kind of tell like sometimes whenever I'm running, I'm like, oh, like I feel really underfueled right now. So I just need to work on eating more and devoting more time to making meals, maybe even doing a little bit of meal prep. And maybe I'll do like a video on cooking or like what I eat in a day as a way to keep myself accountable. Another thing that was harder than I expected was judging whether the tiredness that I am feeling is physical or mental. And what I mean by that is like I can't tell if it's just like my body is tired, like my muscles are tired and I'm underfueled or haven't like recovered physically enough, or if I'm just like mentally exhausted. So there are days where I'll go out and run and just be like, I don't think I can go for another mile. Like on some days I just feel really drained and I can't tell whether I'm like physically exhausted or I'm mentally exhausted. And that doesn't even go for like just when I'm out on a run. Like, especially since I've started running, like, I'll come home from work and I need to take a nap. I get just such a strong urge to take a nap after work that I feel like I can't do anything else. I can't even put together a meal for myself until I take a nap. And I can't tell if it's because I'm physically tired or if it's because I need to work better on taking care of myself mentally. So it's kind of frustrating not being able to tell the difference because I think that those two different things need like two different solutions. Like if it's more of a physical thing, then like I need to work on my recovery. I need to work on making sure that I'm feeling properly, things like that. Versus if it's a mental thing, then I need to work more on working through my feelings and like why I feel that way. Yeah, it's just a lot more complicated if it's something mental, I guess. It's kind of hard to verbalize. Another thing that I found that was harder than I expected was that it was much more difficult for me to be motivated to do the like cross training and strength training sessions than it was to just go out on a run. And I feel like that hasn't been the case for me so much in the past, but I think just the way that I have set up my routine of like, if I'm going on a run, I'm waking up early and I'm going on that run, versus if I am doing like a strength training session, then I know that I'm going to be inside doing it, which means that I don't have to wake up early in the morning before it gets hot out. But then that leads me to not necessarily feeling the drive to just get up and do it. So yeah, so the strength training part of the workouts hasn't been as easy to do, but I'm not as worried about it for this next phase because the strength training sessions are kind of built into the runs. Instead of doing these like body weight exercises, I'm doing like interval runs instead. And then as far as things that were easier to do than expected, the top one is definitely waking up early for my runs. I am not a morning person at all, and I thought that it was going to be really difficult for me to get myself to wake up early enough to get outside for a run before it gets too hot out. But surprisingly, the heat has been a really good motivator for getting outside early. And I also just really love having a productive morning. I think it just sets you up so well to have like a good rest of your day. And another thing that has really helped me wake up early is I am the kind of person that like goes straight to my phone once I wake up, and I'll like scroll on social media for a while. So what I've done is set time limits for myself on my phone so that I'm only sitting on my phone for like 15 minutes whenever I wake up, and then once my time is up, then I have to get out of bed. So that's been really helpful. Another thing that was easier than I expected was hydrating in the morning. This is like both before and after my runs. I'll wake up immediately, and whenever I'm like scrolling through my phone, I'm already starting to drink water. And I drink like almost a whole glass of water while I'm sitting there in bed still. And then after I run, it just becomes like really natural to want to drink water as soon as you're done running. So I have been hydrating so much more in the mornings than I was before I started training. It has set me up for a much better day in general. For things that I've learned so far, well, this thing isn't so much learned but was reminded, is that progress isn't always linear. I have had days where my runs just don't go the way I expected them to, and then a day later I will run what feels like the best run I've had so far. I just have to remind myself that like we have good days and we have bad days, but as time progresses you can really finally start to look back and see how much you've improved. And I have really started to see that, especially in the last couple of weeks, since now it's been 10 whole weeks. I can look back at week 1 and be like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I improved so much from that. Versus looking back at, say, like 2 weeks ago and not really being able to feel that difference. But I know that looking back a couple more weeks from now, looking back at that 2 weeks ago, I'm gonna be able to see the difference. So yeah, progress isn't linear, and you just have to remind yourself to not get too stressed out about the particulars of every single day and keep a positive mindset. Another thing that I learned probably by maybe my like 5th or 6th week is that eating before my morning runs is a must. I at first had thought that I was feeling bad when I was running because it had just like already gotten hot outside, and I thought that the heat was just like affecting me. like getting like headaches and things like that. But then as my runs got longer and longer, I started finding myself being like really hungry as soon as I wake up in the morning. So I've started eating toast in the morning, just like I usually just have like 2 pieces of toast with butter or peanut butter. Then I go on my run, and I've stopped having headaches whenever I run for the most part. And I always worry about eating in the morning because I have a sensitive stomach, and I'm always worried that like if I eat in the morning I'm gonna like get sick or something, especially if I'm gonna work out. But I've been totally fine with eating toast. Toast is a good go-to in the morning because it's known as a fast carb, meaning that it digests very easily and pretty quickly. So by eating toast like 20 minutes before I go running, it doesn't bother me at all. So yeah, that's been a really small thing and yet a really big game changer that I've learned about so far. So now going into phase 2, which is the 14-week plan that is half marathon specific training. I want to reflect on things that I want to change versus things that I want to keep the same. There are a couple things that I want to change. Starting with working on hydrating in the afternoons and the evenings. So like I said before, I've been really good at hydrating in the mornings, but once I get my like actual day started, like I go to work and all that stuff, I just completely forget about drinking water. So then by the time the evening winds down and I'm like starting to relax and thinking about going to bed soon, I realize like, oh, like I really have not drank very much water past this morning. But then I don't want to drink a whole bunch of water before I go to bed because I'm going to have to get up to go in the middle of the night. So I really need to work on reminding myself to hydrate, especially while I'm at work. Another thing that I want to change, which I've already talked about a little bit, is concentrating on nutrition and making sure that I put aside the time to make myself healthy meals. I want to find some more recipes to make and have a little bit more variation in my diet and just finding more go-to recipes that I like because I already have a few, but I would really love to expand the options that I have of things that I'd like to make to eat. And also making sure that I'm eating throughout the day, even if that means just having some like snacks. Another thing that I want to change, since I'm not doing specific like strength training and cross training workouts in this block, it's all running workouts. I do still want to make sure that I am doing some physical therapy type exercises just to do some injury prevention, especially for my hips and hamstrings. Those have always been kind of like problem areas for me. And I also want to make sure that my ankles and calves are strong too and are able to handle all of the workouts that I'm doing. Luckily, I have a good handle of understanding what kind of exercises I should do for this because of running track for so long. So I don't think it'll be that difficult to implement. It'll just be like getting myself to actually do it, like to remember to do it and be motivated to do it and whatnot. Another thing that I want to change is I want to find more places to run. Currently, I have just been running from my apartment. Like, I have been starting at my apartment and just running around my neighborhood. But especially once the semester starts, I would really like to start running at different parks and stuff, maybe like on my way home from class or something. I just want to like switch it up a little bit because running the same route every single time has gotten kind of boring. I start to not look forward to certain parts of the run. Like I'm always just like, oh, I know there's this big hill here and this other hill there, and I don't want to do that part. And so I want to mix it up. The last thing I want to change, which is like kind of dumb, but it has been a kind of a big frustration for me, is that the bag that I run with right now, it's like a little like crossbody bag. I bought it specifically for running, but it keeps like bouncing like against my chest. So I need to find a better bag to run with, and I need one because I need to like keep my keys and my phone and my AirPods in there when I run. And then once I eventually start doing longer runs, I think I want to keep a little bit of water in there too. So I do need a bag to run with. And also I don't run with clothes that have pockets. So I need to find a better bag to run with that isn't so annoying. And then things that I've been doing that I want to keep the same is waking up early for workouts. I have really been liking doing this because I think that waking up early has made it so that I don't have too much time to like talk myself out of it. Like it has just kind of become very, I don't want to say robotic. There's just a big difference between getting up, eating, brushing your teeth, and then heading out the door to go on a run versus like getting up, going to work, doing like other things that you need to do, and then remembering that you still have to run when you get home. So you have all of that time to talk yourself out of doing that run versus if you wake up and you know that you're going to be running like a half hour, 45 minutes later, you just don't have all that time to talk yourself out of it. It's just as simple as that. I want to keep that the same, and also having that time limit on my phone so I'm not just like sitting on my phone all morning and then I'm like, oops, now I don't have time to run before work. Another thing I want to keep the same, which I went into this knowing I wanted to do this, is only worrying about the distance, not worrying about the pace. And I have been doing a pretty good job of keeping up with that. I mean, of course it's fun to like see my paces go down in my runs and being like, oh wow, like a month ago I was only able to run 3 miles at like a 11-minute pace and now I can do it at a 10-minute pace. Like yes, like that's really exciting to see. But if I have a day where I go back to only being able to run a 10:30 pace, then that's what I'm running for the day. As long as I'm still running that 3 miles, then I'm not worried about it. The other thing I want to keep the same is being adaptive to my schedule and not freaking out if I fall off right away. Like I had COVID a couple weeks ago, and because of that, I wasn't able to run for like a whole week. And I just ended up like making up the workouts in the weeks following, and it wasn't that big of a deal. I got myself back on. And also, if I know I'm gonna be like out late with friends one night, and so I'm not gonna want to run in the morning, then like that's okay. It's okay to have a social life. I'll make the next day a rest day and I'll switch it with another day and make it up. As long as I'm doing all of my workouts, then it's nothing to worry about. And the last thing that I'll go over is things that I'm nervous about for this second phase of the training, and then things that I'm excited about. So the things that I'm most nervous about. Number one is definitely my long runs. This second block has the mileage going up much more quickly. So the longest distance that I'm going to be running for my training before the 13.1 miles on race day is 12.5 miles. So there is some long runs in there that I'm going to have to do, and knowing that I can't do them right now, like I know that if I went out right now and tried to run 12.5 miles, I couldn't do it. I am only at 5 miles right now, and knowing that in 14 weeks I'm going to be running 13 is kind of insane. And it makes me a little bit nervous about like, am I going to be able to do it or not? The other thing is class starts in 2 weeks, as well as I have a graduate assistantship too. So I'm a little bit nervous about what it's going to look like to juggle these workouts with class and work. I think it'll be fine because I've set up really good habits so far, but I'm still like a little bit nervous. And then I know that this feels really far out from now because it is still August and it's still like 90 degrees outside, but I'm a little bit nervous about running once it starts to get colder out. I'm worried about how that'll affect my motivation, because right now I'm really motivated by the heat and I'm like, I need to run outside early in order to like get my workout in, versus once it starts to hit like October, I feel like it's gonna be colder in the morning and I'm not gonna want to run then. So it'll be interesting to see how like my routine changes based on the seasons. And I'm just a little bit nervous to see how that might affect my motivation. But the things that I'm excited about, I'm really excited about the interval running that I have in this next training block. So far, my training has just been like, go out and run this number of miles. And now it's like for example, I just did my first interval running this morning. It was like run a minute hard and then walk for a minute, run a minute hard and walk for a minute. And I did that 8 times. So it just reminds me of workouts that I did whenever I was running track, and it feels good because like my body remembers how to do it, and I just feel really strong whenever I'm doing it. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. It's funny because this makes me nervous, but I'm also really excited, is to push myself and to see the progress that I'm able to make. Because right now I know, like I said, I know that I can't run 13 miles right now. Like, I would not be able to run 13 miles straight. But I have faith that I'm going to be able to do that come race day. And I'm really excited to get myself there and to see all of the hard work pay off in the end. I'm also really excited just to like be in shape and to be able to feel that difference. I have already started to feel that in the past like 2 weeks or so, and it is really exciting to like just feel healthier and just to like feel better. I am excited that like this is only the halfway point of my training. So I'm just like imagine how much better I'm going to feel and like how much more in shape I'm going to feel by race day. And I'm also excited to see how this more intense training block affects the rest of my like health journey. Like I'm excited to see how it affects my nutrition, how it affects like my sleep routines and things like that. I'm just excited that doing this type of training and these types of workouts are gonna like kind of in a way force me to get my life together in other areas like nutrition. And then finally, I'm really excited for race day. I haven't raced since my last track meet back in 2021. So I'm just really excited to have like a performance day to show off all of the hard work that I've been putting in for months and have something to show for it, I guess, and to celebrate all of the work that I've done. That's what I've got going on after doing that first 10-week phase and going into the next phase of my training. I'm really excited about it. So yeah, just stay tuned for more updates in the future, and I hope you'll have a great day.